In this lecture, we're going to look at the button element from the Qt Quick Controls module. If we go in Qt Creator, click on the Help tab here, and type button in the search bar here, we are going to be taken to the documentation for the button QML type. And one thing you should notice right away is that the import statement imports from Qt Quick Controls 2.4. It was introduced here and it is inheriting abstract button. We are taking some feature from this QML type here. So if we go down in the description, you can see that a button presents a push button control that can be pushed or clicked by the user. And if you look down here, you see that there is a set of signals that we can get from the button. You can know when it is clicked. You can know when it is double clicked, pressed, released, press and hold. These signals are very similar to what we saw on the mouse area, but a button is very compact in that you don't need to wrap mouse areas inside rectangles. You just use a button and you have these signals available to you to use. Right now, we're going to start a new project and play with us. Create a new project here. It's going to be a Qt Quick application. We call it button demo. Save it in a location on our drive. Hit next. Choose the Qt version we are using. Right now, because we want to test this application both on Android and desktop, we are going to choose the kit for Android, the x86 version, because we want to run this in a virtual device. If you use ARM EABI here, it's going to be very slow. So we choose x86, which speeds things up a little bit. We also choose desktop because this is our default environment we want to work on, and hit next and finish. We want to work with Qt Quick Controls, so we should import that. We're going to say import controls 2.4. We are going to change the title here and say button demo. And import layouts because we want to use that. So we're going to say Qt layouts 1.3. We're going to put in a row layout. And inside we're going to put two buttons. So we're going to say button. Its ID is going to be button 1. It's going to have a text property. It's going to say button 1. We're going to add another one. And we want this row layout to fill the available width. One thing we can do is to anchor it to the left and to the right of the parent by saying anchors left okay. The left side of the row layout is going to stick to the left side of the window, and the same thing is going to happen to the right side. Because we want the buttons to fill the available width, we're going to do something like layout fill width and set this to true. You know this from the layouts lecture. And set this to true. Let's run and see what we get. And you see that we have two buttons, one to the left and another one to the right. This is how these buttons look. One thing I want you to notice is that this is the default style. If you want to change the style, how do you do it? One way to do this is to come to the main file and set the style that you want to use in the main function here. But before we do that, there is another module that we need to import here, which is called Quick. This is going to give us access to a class called QQuickStyle. But if we try to include that class here, QQuickStyle, you see that it is not recognized in the autocomplete feature here. So for it to be available, we need to run qmake after we add something to the project file here. Every time you add something or remove something from the project file, you need to run qmake. So let's save our project file here and do build run qmake. And if we come to main again and include qquick style, you see now that it is available. We include it, and before we load the QML file, we want to do something. Okay, we want to load our style. The way you do that, you say qquick style, set style, you call a static method on this class, and you pass in the name of the style that you want. So for now, we want to try the material for Android feel and look. We are going to try the other ones, don't worry. If you run the application now, it is going to look different. This is the look you have on Android devices. Another style we can try is universal, to make it feel home on Microsoft devices. So you can type in universal, run the application. This is another look. You can try Fusion and see how it looks. This looks like a desktop app. You can try Imagine to look at the default style of it. This is how it looks. And you can put in the default style, which is what we had before when we didn't specify any style. So you type default like this, and it's going to look like it looked at the start of this lecture. This is it. Okay, now you have a way to test all the styles that we looked at. Now that we have our application running, we need to know when each of these buttons is clicked. And it's not very different from what we did in the mouse areas. If you come to the documentation for the button, you're going to see that we don't see any signal here because all the signals are coming from the abstract button QML element. If you click on it and look at signals, you're going to see a bunch of signals we can play with on our button element. So let's try clicked. Okay, button 1, say on clicked. You see that it is recognized here. Console log. And we do the same thing for button 2. Run. If you click, you see that our signals are being captured. You can try all these signals if you want. We are going to try double clicked. Let's try it on button 1 on double clicked. Console log. If you run it, double click. Okay, you see that the double clicked signal is emitted, but also the clicked signal is emitted. But you can process whatever signal you want in your QML application here. Another thing I didn't show you is that you can also use Qt Quick Controls 1 series. Let's change this to 1.4, and you see that this signal was not there in Qt Quick Controls 1. So we can comment it out and run the application and see how it looks. It is going to look like a desktop application. This is what you see here. Okay, this is how you can try Qt Quick Controls 1 if you want to use them. And if you want to know more information about them, you can come to their online documentation here and look at whatever it is you want to look at. For example, if you want to know what is available for your buttons, you can come here, see the signals, you see the clicked signal. This is how the button looks. And these are different properties that are available to you. Okay, let's turn this back to Qt Quick Controls 2. One thing I want you to know is that these Qt Quick Controls components are built using the elements we have seen before, like rectangles, images, text, as raw ingredients to give you something that you can use very fast and that is very efficient to use. So behavior-wise, they really do the same things. For example, you can put them in a column layout here. Let's try this. And if we do this, they are going to be laid out from top to bottom. Button 1 is going to be to the top. Button 2 is going to be to the bottom. And it is going to fill the width that is available. Let's run the application and see what we have. Button 1, button 2. You can click on button 2, you can click on button 1, and you can double click on button 1, and you see that we have our signals. Okay, this is all the information I had to share about the Qt Quick Control button element. In the next lecture, we're going to run our app here on an Android device and go through the entire process of how that happens. I'll see you there.